Anyone who watches my Metal Mythos series knows I am a Dawkins fan of some distinction. Yuck it up all you like, 90s kids, but be sure to tuck your Tori Amos CDs away in your 15th ironic fanny pack first, you hipster fucking losers. That said, I've been mocking the cock and Dawkins for some time, and his name is Mr. Scary George Lynch, one of the great guitar heroes of the 1980s, at one time considered the successor to Randy Rhoads and Eddie Van Halen, and in some ways, frankly, their technical superior. No feigned praise required here. He's a goddamn guitar genius, and no exaggeration, my favorite guitarist of all time. If and when, that is, he happens to not be flapping his leathery cock holster about boomer politics, which is precisely what he decided to do this week. From the font of fucking retardation that is blathermouth.net, as originally recorded on Australian podcast Scars and Guitars.
I didn't realize you're a political animal, to be honest with you. So you've obviously got strong thoughts and opinions on the political world around us at the moment, and God, there's a lot to have an opinion on at the moment. So have you been keeping up to date with this Democratic presidential nomination campaign?
Anything's better than what we got. I'm honestly just so fatigued, and most of the people that I surround myself with that are political animals are equally fatigued. And we're living through the American nightmare, and we hope it doesn't become a fascist nightmare. But, for the moment, hopefully we can undo the damage at some point. I was watching a documentary last night called The Black Godfather.
Okay.
But Barack Obama is featured in it and knew this gentleman very well and speaks very highly of him, and he's talking about him. And I just almost was brought to tears listening to him speak so eloquently and intelligently and compassionately.
If we fall for, a bunch of okey doke,
with understanding, compared to what we have now, was just terrifying. I mean, we have this idiotic monster, this egotistical, self-aggrandizing, complete piece of shit in there. I just can't understand how we've gotten to this place.
Oh, gorge. Seeing this headline, I'm half surprised the Skinny Jeans Syndicate at Metal Cucks and Metal Injection didn't drop trow and blow him on the fucking spot. Look, this ain't even really about the Trump bashing. If I had to assess the Trump presidency, it may be moderately positive, purely on the basis that the man did more in his first fucking week with the 5-year lobbying ban on Washington officials and putting a pause on immigration from nations whose primary export is ticking turbines than any other asshole the Oval Orifice has in my quarter century or so on this fucking earth. But he is not my patron saint. Watch my Syria or video game violence rants for confirmation. He's been wrong about the Vidya since the days of goddamn Pong, and at the time I thought the bombing of Syria was stupid. Although in retrospect, it may have actually helped us avoid a lingering military conflict in the longer term, so I may have actually been wrong, which looking back may actually explain why Mad Dog Mattis, who's a badass, but a bit of a warmonger if I'm being honest, wound up resigning from his cabinet shortly thereafter. Look, point being, when leathery lefties like Lynch cry and call him the commander-in-Cheeto, they're lucky these days if it incites a fucking shrug. What brings us back to the anvil for a Trump derangement syndrome rant is this steaming sack of stupid.
And here's another thing that's kind of interesting, too. Because I'm becoming more and more aware of how pervasive the Trump base mentality is in this country and how it's always just sort of been there but been quiet. Mm-hmm. And now it's just reared its ugly head in a huge way. I just played Sturgis for a week. We were in Lynchmont. We played 6 nights, consecutive nights, so we played all week. Basically, we were stuck in a Trump rally with motorcycles.
All right, okay.
Yeah, it was pretty scary. I gotta be honest with you.
Yeah.
It's pretty terrifying. Was this the country I live in? And these people will kill for what they believe.
Madam President, I have just been informed that the alleged shooter at the Republican baseball practice this morning is someone who apparently volunteered on my presidential campaign.
Progressives are more compassionate people.
Oh, how harrowing that must have been for you as you waited for their fucking check to clear, you California cunt flap. Try as I may to contort my gray matter with mental Tibetan yoga, I can still scarcely imagine suffering from such an incurable metastasized case of Trump derangement syndrome that I suddenly fear the exact same fucking audience I've been playing to for, going on 40 fucking years. Bear in mind, this human baseball glove lived in or around Paradise Valley at one point, the most pretentious conservative tract of Anglotopia in fucking Phoenix. Wild Mick Brown, his drummer in both Dokken and Lynch Mob, lives in Casa Grande, toured with Ted fucking Nugent, and conducts interviews with a Confederate flag on his fucking vest. I'm going out on a limb here and saying these ain't the first conservatives he's spotted in the wild there, Wankosaurus. Look, cry about boycotts all you like, but at a certain point you have to vote with your wallets. I like the second Lynch Mob record, but I ain't bought a fucking thing George Lynch has produced since he pinched out that revisionist shadow train propaganda preach fest, because at a certain point you have to stop supporting people who hate your fucking guts. Look, Don Dokken happens to be liberal as shit as well. Surprise, surprise. Way to break with type, people. Point being, he also is embarrassed by Trump and says so. But in every interview I've heard, for instance on the Classic Metal Show, which you should absolutely be listening to every Saturday evening, by the way, shameless plug, what I have not heard him say, however, is that Trump's supporters are a pack of murderous motorbikers. He discusses instead what created Trump and laments that it happened that way.
How embarrassing is it to be an American and we have a neurotic, borderline personality disorder sociopath for a president of the United States? How fucked up is that? He went for the middle class that are struggling just to make a paycheck every week to pay their bills, to pay their rent. And he went for them. And he told them everything they wanted to hear.
Don, the other end of this call is losing his mind now. He's the driver of the Trump train.
Well, my condolences. But some of the things he wants to do for America, I totally agree with. We have to stop the influx, the immigrants coming in. And they can't be 57,000 immigrants in every border crossing every month. It's just too many people.
The exact opposite of George Lynch tonguing Obama's O-ring, as if 8 years of Barack bullshitting us all from behind a fucking teleprompter didn't create the Trump phenomenon to fucking begin with. How could this mongoloid spend 17 seconds in Arizona, a state that suffered a 118% premium increase in medical insurance, and now boasts just one remaining Obamacare provider statewide thanks to Magic Mike's pegging partner, and still unironically fire off fawning praise for this pube? This is not a unique phenomenon. How many celebrities swore up, down, left, right, and sideways they'd ship off to Kanukistan if T-Rump won in 2016? Name one that actually fucking did. Lena Dunham, still here. Rosie O'Donnell, heaven help the tectonic plates, she's still fucking here. And worst of all, apart from telling us all precisely how to live, these people, George Lynch very much included, want not a fucking thing to do with you. And frankly, given how many of these motherfuckers have turned up in Epstein's little black book, allowed Louis C.K. to stroke it to an office fucking fern, and look the other way while Weinstein's Wangstein savaged every aspiring starlet in Tinseltown, I'm taking your righteous outrage with a heaping ratchet and a horse shit. Reasonable minds may differ on the orangutan in chief. I have my own issues with his platform and policies. But here's a hot fucking tip. If you find yourself belting out the blues medal to a crowd full of fucking bikers you just claimed in print were willing to murder in defense of their vote, and you detect the faintest hint of homicidal intent from the audience, maybe it ain't so much about Trump as it is about your terminal case of cock and mouth disease. I see everyone wondering these days why we can no longer agree to disagree in this country, lamenting the caustic nature of political discourse as if it emerged unbidden from the ether. And all the while, one entire side of the aisle is weaponizing entertainment media in socialistic subservience to an actively disintegrating ideology. Bitches crying about boycotts are officially finished speaking, because you can pull all the levers you like come November, but from filmic reboots that seem more concerned with transforming the cast into a fucking McDonald's commercial than being remotely sincere to the source material, to artists all but calling for armed revolt because baby Huey's been denied his government-mandated muff surgery, it's more obvious than ever that the most important vote you can cast is with your fucking wallet. Who do you think funds these fucknobs come November anyways? Still love you, Lynch, even if you had the politics of the night manager at Hot Topic, but I'm not buying your album albums any more than I'm buying your bullshit. I'm Razor Fist. God fucking speed.